No matter how dark a room may be, the smallest light will be enough to burst through the gloom. The flame of a single match can dispel the greatest darkness in any space. Light and dark are not opposing forces. Rather, darkness is merely the absence of light.
Good morning, London. This is Breakfast with Capital FM. We may be in lockdown, but we are not locked out of Christmas. Now more than ever, it's the time to stay connected.
Where is it? Where is it? What is this? What is... Oh, wow. Come in! Fantastic.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rest assured that the performance is being recorded. So please pop your phones and cameras away and enjoy the show.
Jesus, our brother, strong and good, was humbly born in a stable root where friendly beasts around him stood. Jesus, our brother, strong and good.
The birth of Christ may be the most famous Bible story of all time, reprised annually during the Christmas season in nativity scenes across the world. And in every scene, Jesus is depicted as a baby born in a stable because there was no room at the inn. But in studying the original text, we find that the entire story is based on a misreading of the New Testament. In looking at the context and understanding the writings of old and the culture of the day, one will see that Jesus was in fact not born in a stable.
The gifts they gave Emmanuel.
The gifts they gave Emmanuel.
China has identified the cause of the mysterious pneumonia outbreak in Wuhan city.
The coronavirus is the biggest threat this country has faced for decades.
Whether through textbooks, stories, childhood education, or mainstream media, we tend to believe the popular narrative presented to us.
To unleash the full power of the federal government in this effort today, I am officially declaring a national emergency.
The coronavirus can cause respiratory and intestinal diseases. 700.
So few of us really ever question the status quo and search for the truth.
Of national emergency. To stay at home, protect our NHS, and save lives. Thank you.
If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually believe it. And so it is with the notion that Jesus was born in a stable somewhere in Bethlehem. Who would have questioned this? From the earliest art commissioned by the Renaissance fathers in ancient cathedrals to modern-day children's Bibles, this imagery has been imprinted in our minds, and the narrative rings true in our hearts.
Joseph and Mary reached Bethlehem. Joseph searched for a place to stay, but all the inns were already full. They ended up spending the night in a stable, a place where all the animals were kept. That night, baby Jesus was born. There wasn't a crib for baby Jesus to lay his head, but they put baby Jesus in a manger. How could they put him in a manger? They used hay to make it soft, so baby Jesus could lay his soft head down on the bed.
In the original Greek, the word translated for inn is used as a guest room in a private house.
Ezekiel, I've just done the bed. You little, come here, you little rascal. Come here, you little rascal. I'm going to tickle your feet.
The same term is used to describe the upper room where Jesus and his disciples ate the Last Supper. In those times, a hotel or an inn was only perhaps found within cities on the main travel routes, and definitely not in a small town like Bethlehem, hidden in the mountains. As was the custom in 1st century Palestine, Joseph and Mary would have stayed with relatives and not with strangers. Their relatives' guest rooms or upper rooms could very well have been full with other relatives who had arrived before them. They therefore would have stayed in the lower compartment of a house. This family living area would usually have hollows in the ground, filled with straw, and be in the living area, where the animals would feed if they were brought into the house at night, which was common to do at the time. And it was in a room like this where in fact the baby Jesus was born, because there was no space for him in one of the upper guest rooms.
Situation, the streets are looking empty, but we hope we're spending it.
We all have rooms in our lives. And no, I'm not talking about a living room, kitchen, or a bedroom. But a space, a conscious territory created in our minds, accessible through the door of the heart. These rooms, not made with hands or built with bricks, are fashioned by emotions and thought processes due to certain events that have happened to us, mostly in our past. Life is not fair. None of us live in a fairy tale. Many times we are young and immature when critical turning points in our lives take place. Because we don't know how to deal with the emotions we experience, we don't have the appropriate support systems and people in place, we run from these emotions. We find a hiding place, a corner, to stop and recoup, to take a breath and gather our thoughts. We choose the silence of our rooms above the potential healing words of others. We choose the loneliness above the comfort that someone else can bring. As we continue to run to these rooms, they become our default reaction to deal with whatever life throws at us. We find a distraction, an addiction, a room, an open space.
Gavin, you know my situation. I don't know how you expect me to take this. This is the worst time for me. Of all people, me, Gavin, of all people, you know how hard I work. You know. Isn't there like any other role maybe? Like, I don't mind stepping down and being redeployed somewhere else. Is that an option?
You close the door, trying desperately to deal with the fear, doubts, shame, or loneliness.
It's the worst time.
The pain and rejection are raw and real. And in this room, no one can see you fighting the tears. Sometimes we just keep returning to that one place of our best memories with a person. Another room. It means something different to each of us, but serves us all in the same way. But one day, the room, which once was a sanctuary and a refuge in a crazy world, suddenly becomes less attractive. After a while, you find that you cannot see the sunset through the windows anymore. Instead of willingly running to the room, you reluctantly feel drawn to it. Yesterday, there were curtains above the window. Today, there are iron bars. The room has become a prison, a strong, fortified enclosure. Before long, you are unable to open the door from the inside. You can, but you won't, because no one is knocking on the door. No one else is trying to come in or asking to come in. And then, all of a sudden, when you turn the handle, the door is locked. Light disappears. You are alone in complete darkness. God always knew that we were going to create these rooms to escape to. And He always knew how hard it would be for us to allow anyone into those secret spaces. As with the story of Joseph and Mary, the upper rooms were all occupied. And so it is with us. These upper rooms of our minds are occupied by so many emotions, so many preconceived ideas and strongholds that it is difficult for us to allow anyone else in. We must ask what these strongholds are. The answer is not overly complex. They are anything we've given room to in our lives in an attempt to cover up our wounds from the past, from friends, family, coaches, teachers, or even parents. But God also knew if he could just get through the main door, it will only be a matter of time and he will be able to enter every room you have so strongly withheld access from.
Hey, just let him in.
Joseph and Mary entered the house and Jesus was born in the lower ground family room. Today, you may be the prisoner of the rooms you so proudly or unknowingly created. Or perhaps you have never given much thought to the rooms in your life. If we do not face the wound, we will fabricate a variety of remedies to dull the pain and thus bury it. The relentless pursuit of money, the quest for fame, the approval of men, drug abuse, illicit sexual relations, movies of a degrading nature, even an addiction to food. The list is long. But the reason is always the same. You may be in a situation where darkness is so powerful that you fear that light cannot overcome it. You might feel like your life is engulfed in darkness. You might feel lost and confused when it comes to dealing with work or financial pressures. Recent health diagnosis or relational conflict might feel like a darkness you just don't know how to navigate on your own. What about your life's purpose? You may find yourself moving from one room to another, never finding the door of escape. But it does not have to be that way.
I just need Jesus in my life.
Shame told me otherwise.
No matter how dark life appears, Jesus wants to be the light that shines the way through every challenge. And that light can enter any room.
Listen to lies now, and they're falling aside now, as I've seen the light.
Jesus refers to himself as the light of the world. In other words, Jesus is the embodiment of how to know God and live life. He brings clarity and direction to the confusion and uncertainty that comes with navigating this life. Jesus may have been born in the lower parts of a family home, but God knew that he would eventually deal with the forces of darkness in the upper rooms of houses. It was in an upper room where Jesus raised a little girl from the dead, where he had the Last Supper with his disciples, and in an upper room his followers received his most precious and empowering gift, the Holy Spirit.
Dad, I let him in.
Light entered darkness, and there was no darkness anymore. Will you let Jesus enter your room?
What would you do if he walked into the room? What would you do if he walked into the room? What would you say if he walked into the room? How would you praise if he walked into the room? How would you shout if he walked into the room? How would you shout if he walked into